Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So for today's video, I'm going to be filming a books I want to reread video. So this video, I just was making a list in my notes, like I always do, make lists in my notes. And the books that I want to reread has been piling up, and I was like, why not share this with you guys? And also, I would love to know books that you have reread multiple times, or books that you want to reread again but haven't yet, like me. Leave it down below in the comments, but hopefully you stick around and watch this video. But let's get into it. So first book that I want to reread is Mr. Masters by T.L. Swan. Now listen, I did not even read this one. I read a couple of chapters and then I DNF'd it. I can't remember why I DNF'd it, but I do want to go back and try and reread it again to see whether it just wasn't for me or if I just was in a slump or something like that. I also have heard many good things about this book, so I want to get into the hype. I want to understand why people like this book, so I want to go back and reread that one for sure. Next book that I want to reread is Birthday Girl by Penelope Douglas. I read this and I gave it 4 stars, but people just be talking about Pike Lawson like he is the top book boyfriend, and when I read it, I wasn't like in love with him, you know what I mean? And I'm like, maybe I just didn't get the hype. Maybe I just didn't get the hype of this book, and I just want to go back and reread it because it has been a couple of years since I read it. Couple of years, probably like a year or so. So yeah, and this is a popular book too, so I kind of want to understand why, like, Pike Lawson, because when I remember back when I was reading it, I wasn't like falling in love with him. Maybe I was just, I don't know. So yeah, this is another one that I want to reread for sure. Next book that I want to reread is Hello Stranger by Jade West. Now listen, when I first read this, okay, so I know what happens in the book, but when I first read it, I feel like it didn't hit me, or like I wasn't thoroughly enjoying it. And when I look at the cover, I like love the cover, and it's like grumpy sunshine, and I don't know, I feel like I could love it more now, and that's why it's on my reread list. But it's a sad book, so like with all of these, I have no idea when I will be rereading them, but it is on my reread list. Next, I have Promises and Pomegranates by Sav R. Miller. This is a popular one, and this one is a cover that is stunning. So I want to reread it to see if my rating changes so that I could buy it. That's my reasoning for this one. I remember reading it and loving it, but I wasn't in love with it, you know what I mean? I think I gave it 4 stars, maybe 3, but I feel like maybe now when I read it, I will appreciate it more. And I remember liking the writing, so I don't know. I just need a refresher on some of these, like to be for certain on my rating, because my rating system back then was just off. But like now I have a more structured rating system, so I think that's why I want to go back and reread this one. Plus the cover is stunning, and if I love it, then I want to buy it. Next trilogy that I want to read is The Professional by Kresley Cole, The Master by Kresley Cole, and The Player by Kresley Cole. I want to read this whole series because I absolutely love it. I gave it 5 stars, and I just want to reread it because I loved it so much. So this one doesn't really have that much of a backstory, but I love this trilogy so much by Kresley Cole that I just kind of want to go back and reread it because it's been a minute. And I've already reread it like once or twice, at least the first one for sure, the second one too, but I don't think I've reread the third one, so I just kind of want to go back and reread it just because I love them so much. Next trilogy that I want to reread is the White Monarch trilogy by Jessica Hawkins. This is a cartel mafia romance, dark romance, and I remember snippets of it, but I read it so long ago that I just kind of want to reread it, one for the rating again, and because if I love it, like I remember loving it, I want to buy the hardcover of the trilogy. And it's cartel mafia romance, and that was the first one that I've ever read, and I just want to reread it and see if it was good, how I thought it was good, and how I think about it now. But this is a good one. If you're looking for a cartel mafia dark romance, this one's really good. Next trilogy that I want to read is The Doctor by Nikki Sloane, The Pool Boy by Nikki Sloane, and The Architect by Nikki Sloane. This one I want to reread because I want to be official on my ratings. I know that for sure. I do remember loving it when I first read the whole thing, but I feel like I need to go back and like refresh the stories and see what it's all about, because I think The Doctor might not be my favorite, but I have to reread it. That's why it's on my list. But The Pool Boy, that one is so good. I remember it being so good. I need to reread it. The cover, I just can't. But The Architect also, this is like a threesome polyamorous relationship, if that's what you would call it. It's like an MMF. And I remember loving the heroine, and I remember how the heroine would always wear these like sexy ass heels, and it's just so good. So I want to go back and reread it just to see, you know. Next trilogy that I want to read, this one isn't necessarily a trilogy, but you have to read Falcon's Prey by Lymari first before you read the next two books. So I want to reread this one because I remember it having a lot of elements, like dark elements, that I liked and enjoyed, but I don't think I gave it an accurate rating. So for that one, I want to reread for sure. And then the next two are my favorite. It is Savage Kingdom by Lymari and Cruel Crown by Lymari. This one is a duet about the same couple, and it's strong, enemies to lovers. I remember it being really good, but just like really tragic. And I just want to kind of dive back in it. I don't even know if there's going to be a third book. I think there is. It might come out this year, but don't hold me to that. But these three are like dark romances, and I just need a refresher on these. The next one I want to reread is The Patron by Vivian Woods. For this one, I just want to reread it so I can read the second book, which I bought, but I never picked up. So it's been a long time. So I need to read the first one again before I read the second one. And that way I will know whether I like this trilogy or if I'm going to continue the trilogy, and if I like Vivian Woods' writing. So I'm not quite sure on that one, but I do want to reread the first book before I read the second book. Another book that I want to reread, this one I gave 5 stars, and that's why I want to reread it, because I want to make sure it is a 5-star before I buy it, because illustrated covers came out for it, and I just want to make sure before I purchase it. It's A Not So Me Cute by Meghan Quinn. I remember loving this one when I first read it. I was laughing. I was just thoroughly enjoying the characters and their banter back and forth. But like I said, I want to reread it to make sure it's a 5-star before I buy the illustrated cover and move on to the second book in the series. But also it's a 5-star, that's why I want to reread it. Next two books are part of the same series. I want to reread Twisted Emotions by Cora Reilly. This one I gave 4 stars, but this one is a lot of people's favorites, and I just feel like I need to reread it to make certain it's not a 5-star. And then for sure I want to reread Twisted Pride by Cora Reilly. This one is a 5-star for me. I remember it thoroughly. I enjoyed it immensely. It was so good. Enemies to lovers, and I just loved it so much. So that one I just want to reread because I loved it. But those are 2 books I want to reread from the Cora Chronicles series by Cora Reilly. I know she has come out with new books, but a lot of people hate them, and the way that people are talking about them and describing them, I'm just like, I don't think I'm gonna read it or even try to read it. So there's that. Next, this series isn't on my list, but I'm gonna be real quick with it and type it out on my list, because this is a series that I for sure want to reread, and that is the whole ACOTAR series. I read this for the first time last year, and I wish I could reread this series for the first time all over again, but it's more than a year now. Yeah, it's been more than a year now since I've read it. So I think I'm gonna wait till 2023, or maybe just like binge it sometime before then. I don't know. I kind of want to forget a lot about this series before I dive back in. But I feel like it's also been so long that I don't even remember the little details. So anyways, I want to reread the ACOTAR series. So 1, I can just go back into that world and fall in love again with all of the characters. And 2, so I can annotate my copies. And as you can see, actually I don't know if you can see, you can see my Throne of Glass one, but my ACOTAR ones are above here. But I recently got new dust jackets for them, and they've just been calling my name. Like, I need to reread them. I love them so much. So I don't know when I'm gonna reread it, but I know that I want to, because I've just been seeing so much about it, and I'm like, bruh, I remember that scene, I remember that chapter. Oh my god, read Sapphira. It is so good. So I want to reread it here soon, especially because I want to annotate them. I'm kind of crazy, but I have like 2 copies of the series in hardcover. So my new ACOTAR series hardcovers that I have, I bought those specifically for the dust jackets so that they can be my like collector's editions. And then I have my original hardcovers that I originally read when I first read it. So I want to annotate those instead of my collector's one, because I don't want to ruin them. They're just too beautiful. But yeah, for sure need to reread that series, and also I want to reread that series and annotate it so I can jump into Throne of Glass and read that for the first time and annotate it, so then I can read the Crescent City like duology that is out right now and like connect the dots, you know what I mean? It's a lot, but I am just so excited. I love Sarah J Maas's world and I can't wait to dive back into it. And those are all the books that I want to reread so far right now. I have no idea when I'm gonna get to it because it's really tough for me to reread or get into rereading books that I've already read, because I feel like I'm wasting time reading books that I've already read instead of reading new books that I haven't read. But I love them so much, so like they're just nostalgia. I just have to find places to fit them in, maybe put them in my TBRs or something. But besides the point, thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you made it all the way to the end, leave me a little heart emoji. It doesn't even matter which one. It can be the little hands or it can be like any heart emoji. And I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.